Welcome to Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Meghan Payton, and a really upsetting end to the Seahawks-Titans game. Overtime, Titans ended up winning 33-30, and I got to be honest, I didn't even expect the Titans to come close in this game, let alone it go to overtime, and definitely not the Titans winning. This is just a really unfortunate turn of events. If you look, at the second half, you would have thought this game was probably over. A lot to unpack here with this game, just not at all what we would have hoped for the Seahawks to do. We'll break this all down. But right now, I want you guys to grade the Seahawks' performance. Go to the comments right now and let me know, what do you think the Seahawks did? If you think it was an A, they did amazing, give them an A. If you think it was terrible, everything needs to change, give them an F. I'm guessing it's probably somewhere in the middle. For me, I'd say, first half looked good. First half, I'd say like A-. And second half is kind of where it all fell apart. So there it would be like maybe a D, C-. So I don't know, but I want to know what you guys think. Leave me your thoughts in the comments on the Seahawks Week 2 performance against the Titans. And before we get into all the things that happened during this game, let's just kind of take a peek at some of the injuries and things that we need to monitor. The first one being star wide receiver DK Metcalf. He was dealing with that calf injury going into the Colts game last week. We saw him limp off the field late in the second half. So I'm not sure if this is something that just like resurfaced, but you could hear a lot of people say once he did come back, he just looked off. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but it's definitely something to monitor. If he's not 100%, that's going to be a problem for the Seahawks offense. So we'll have to keep you guys updated and monitor the DK Metcalf situation. Brandon Shell at right tackle. He also limped off the field in the fourth quarter, what appeared to be a leg injury. He went to the locker room and did not return. So this is a problem for the Seahawks line. If you're going to have to put in and start shifting around some guys, this is what you want to avoid. So I'm hoping that this is nothing serious for Brandon Shell. Obviously, we'll keep you guys updated on what's to come with him. But before we get into the negatives that occurred during this Titans game, which there were a lot of negatives that occurred, I do want to start at least somewhat positive. I think that the Seahawks had a really good pass game and an run game, but we can't discredit what happened in this first half. Russell Wilson put up 343 yards this game. He had 2 touchdowns. He had 22 for 31 attempts, no interceptions. He looked really good. And so as much as we like to say, like, gosh, this did not end the way we wanted it to, Russell Wilson is still the quarterback that we want him to be. So, I can feel encouraged by the pass game here. I think that, Tyler Lockett obviously had a great game. He had a 63-yard touchdown that was insane. And it was the Tyler Lockett that we know and love. And overall, he had 178 yards for 8 receptions. He looked good. A touchdown, and like I said, his longest was 63 yards. So impressed by him, like I was last week, and also impressed by Chris Carson. Now, they didn't run the ball a lot, but the times that they did, it worked out. They did it when it mattered. In the end zone, he put up 2 touchdowns, and yes, they were on like the 2nd-yard line, the 1-yard line, but he made those plays when they counted. So props to Chris Carson here. I think that we can expect to see more from him. I think that the Seahawks should try to utilize the run a little bit more, just to kind of spread the ball, kind of change it up a little bit. And Alex Collins, the 1 reception that he got 25 yards. So I'm excited about Alex Collins. It was good to see him out there. It's 1 carry that he had for 25 yards. So he and Chris Carson, if they can utilize the run game more, I think this will help out the Seahawks offense. And lastly, rookie Freddie Swain. Freddie Swain took advantage, him and Russell took advantage of the Titans completely blowing coverage, and they took advantage of that secondary, and he got that insane touchdown. So yes, these are the positives. These are the few positives that we did see. We're going to get into the negatives, but before I kind of give you guys my take, I want to know, who do you guys blame the most for this loss? Go to the comments right now Let me know. Maybe it's a player, maybe it's a coach. I don't know who it is, but let me know who you guys think deserves the blame for this game. Now, this video is presented by BetUS. BetUS is the place to go. If you guys are going to be betting at all this season, use BetUS. They have an amazing promo going on right now. If you go to the link Seahawks or use the promo code Seahawks125, go to chatsports.com/bet. If you bet $100, they are going to give you a 125% deposit bonus. That means that your $100 turns into $225. They're giving you $125 of free money to bet with. Please go check out chatsports.com/bet. Use Seahawks125 to get that promo. Now, here we go into some of the areas and the initial reactions that I had to this game is that the defense obviously struggled in the second half. I mean, it was a completely different game, in my opinion, if you look at the first half versus the second half. And this is, to me, like where we talked about this leading up to this game. You cannot leave holes the way that you did for guys like Derrick Henry. Quandre Diggs mixed a really important tackle that gave the Titans the score with the 60-yard run from Henry. And Henry's first stats, you look at this, it was nothing. 13 carries, 35 yards, an average of 2.7, no touchdowns. And I was like, hey, this is what we expected. We wanted them to hold Derrick Henry, and they did. Well, the second half is kind of like where we said they did it. And he had 22 carries, 147 yards in the second half, plus overtime, obviously, for an average of 6.7 and 3 touchdowns. You can't expect to win games if you're going to allow this to happen. And I mean, I was just overall bummed out that this is what we saw. We were really encouraged. Like I said, at one point it was 24-9. So to let the Titans come back that much, send it into overtime, and then allow them to win, to me, it's just, that's a problem on the defense. But I will say there is some reason to blame the refs. F the refs, everyone. I don't know what you guys think, but DJ Reed's taunting call was absolute BS to me. And I know that the NFL is trying to change that whole rule, but like, these are momentum changers. These kind of calls change the games. And to me, it was absolutely ridiculous. There's got to be a level of like playing football. And I feel like it's like the unfun dad that's just coming in here ruining the game. I don't know, but maybe I'm overreacting. To me, it was an absolutely ridiculous call that did change the momentum of the game. Do you guys think the taunting call was BS? If you think so, type Y for yes. If not, type N for no. Maybe I'm wrong, but I stand by my point. I think that we need to loosen up on the taunting calls. It's insane to me. Lastly, or not lastly, but the third point that I will say is the obvious: extra points count. If he wouldn't have missed that extra point, we wouldn't probably be in the situation. It probably wouldn't have gone into overtime. Jason Myers let the team down by missing that extra point. And I know we put a lot of pressure on kickers, but we're not talking about some like 56-yard field goal that he had to make. It was an extra point. It would have forced the Titans to have to go for it on 2. Maybe if they would have made it, then yeah, sure, we're back into overtime. But that's a lot more difficult thing to ask than it is just to make an extra point. So I think that things like this add up. And so I do put some blame on Jason Myers. I hope that he feels this a little bit. And like I said, we're not talking about some crazy 56, 60-yard field goal. We're talking about extra points. Those are the basics. If you're going to be playing in the NFL, those are the gimmies. I think you have to have that. And lastly, the penalties are what killed the Seahawks. And now I know I just completely dogged on the call for the taunting. And yes, it was a BS call, but there were a lot of other penalties caused by the Seahawks that really hurt them. They had 10 called penalties for 100 yards, and you can't expect to win games with that many penalties. And it just affects you. I mean, the Jamal Adams 15-yard roughing the passer call, that was a problem. That was on a 3rd down incompletion. To me, this is an area that needs to get cleaned up. So that's kind of on Pete Carroll to just help these guys understand how much of an impact these penalties can have. Now, overall, there's things to be encouraged about from this game, but there's also things that we really need to look at and go, hey, these are areas that need to be fixed. What do you guys think is the biggest takeaway from week 2? Let me know in the comments right now, and I'll let you guys know too. I mean, I think my biggest takeaway is the defense. We needed to stop Derrick Henry, and we didn't in that second half, and that is what cost us the game. I think that was the most important thing we could have figured out in the second half, and we didn't. So that's my biggest takeaway from week 2. Let me know what you guys think. And guys, we want to keep you guys updated all season long with Seahawks content, hopefully with some more positive news, but we need you guys to subscribe. So please just click that red button. That is all we ask. We are going to keep giving you guys free Seahawks content and keep you updated throughout the season.